Well, and I think incentivizing by doing some sort of stipend to people who go on calls would probably be more motivating than just paying the training.
That would be really nice if it wasn't a catch-all with San Juan County.
Yeah,
because
I
we
know
pay
exactly.
them and they want, and San Juan County.
Yeah, and they get a little,
So, and that's that ongoing discussion we can't seem to get going from the other side of the table with San Juan County to sit down and say, what are you trying to unload on us and how is it going to work and how do we do it? But on the other hand, right now, that's where we ran into the problem with the fire department, the county wanting funds. You know, I'm fine with starting with this. I just think that what we need, what I would like to see is something that's based on what court systems do, where you file an informal papyrus, I can't pay this, these are my assets, whatever. Or how do you get scholarships? How do you do something? But, you know, I could really envision for a lot of people, it's going to be hard to come up with.
so what if we make it a scholarship thing? They have to apply in front of the council and say why they want to take the course and what their plan is. And
Well, that's really,
and make it to where you can pay the whole thing if you want, or instead of just signing up and saying, oh, let's try that and going for it and then say, I don't really feel like going anymore and dropping out.
Well, I think everybody who registers for it initially has the intent of completing the course. And I think most of them actually do complete the course. It's just when it comes down to taking the test at the end. I know there's several people that I know that have taken the class and then gotten to the test and failed it the first time and failed it the second time and okay, I'm done.
Yeah, see, and I'm not aware of any of the specifics, so I don't even know who's interested or who's available.
Hard and frustrating because you waste town funds and things like that on because then if you have somebody who does, you've paid for somebody to take this and you still don't have an EMT at the end.
And that's the scholarship part of saying, hey, I've done this much study at college level, or
Right.
I've been a firefighter, or I've done whatever, and I can pass this test or whatever. And
It's, yeah, for some people, it's a reading problem.
Right.
I mean, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, since we were kind of faced with the deadline for this particular class, should we just, by consensus, go with this plan, because we've got the funds, let Erin kind of administer whatever, and then we, reach out and try to figure out like how, we're not the only community who has this problem, where you've got somebody who either can't pass the course, they have a terrible health issue that pops up that they didn't know about. There are going to be people who don't complete all these requirements, and how do other places handle them? But at least we've got one person interested. We know that the class has already started.
When I used to do large volume training, like in-house training, like sawyers, like chainsaw stuff, I mean, there was just it's kind of an assumed risk, like you might just, that's about to Luanne's point, some kind of application, like that was when you get to be choosy. A lot of times when you're begging, you just have to take a risk that hopefully it works out and goes through. I mean, because even if you spend this money and they go 3 months and then stop, that's not great, so it's just a risk. But Kathy's already agreed with this one, so I'm comfortable with it.
yeah, I think having the manager talk with the manager about the EMS program, let's just go that out, so reason to change what they've discussed.
So shall we just leave it kind of what you're proposing and then try to work out the details on what do we do here? One of the perks that came up a couple of years ago that people wanted was payment for their license plates, that differential. That's certainly something that would seem to be an interest for.
Because the firefighters have to pay too to get a fire plate.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that.
Is it still $25 extra for
30 plus.
And
But it's an extra.
Yeah.
That was what we agreed to do for both EMS and fire, whoever, if there was an appropriate plate, we paid the difference. I don't think anybody's reached out
No, I don't
since
think
that
that's
first year
very,
to
no.
do that.
I don't
Lee
think.
is running out here to get.
I know, I need to put a little a little chat box thing. That,
Did you say there was
they
other
did.
interest in the funds for something else?
One more time.
Did you say there was other interest in the funds for something else? Or I know that can accommodate both. I'm just wondering what.
Yeah, so other interested kind of things would be like paying for a set of, I'm gonna say this wrong, like a uniform, right? Like scrub, yeah, turnip, whatever, the not a true, yeah, but
Gotcha.
yeah, so they don't have to buy those out of pocket and things like that. I know in the past though, the town has, EMS has approached, or individuals on the EMS department have approached us and said, hey, can we use the funds on X, Y, and Z, this piece of equipment, these supplies that we're not regularly receiving through the county. And so, since they're not great big equipment, like we're not buying an ambulance. Sorry. But like the small stuff, they've approached us to try to spend down those funds. And we do want to spend them down each calendar year unless we're trying to save them up for something big. So I definitely, and the one thing I was going to say is, for those requests, maybe we kind of have like a request form, like I want a license plate. And so I fill out this little form, and that way we've got a paper trail for our accounting team of that funding going out. So I can work on that.
Could we also kind of designate percentages of the account, like we have 50% of the funds available for future EMTs and 25% is available for uniform or, equipment or something like that. And then if we get to the point where we don't have any applicants for EMT, then that rolls over or something like that. But if we get too many, we can say first come, first serve. Sorry, you didn't apply soon enough and wait till the next round or something like that. I mean, it's not like, I don't think we've ever had anybody breaking down the door to apply for EMT training, unfortunately.
I want that problem.
Yeah,
That's my
exactly.
want.
Cool.
Yeah, I think they're all really good ideas, and hopefully in the next this calendar year, we'll be able to get some kind of information from San Juan County, what they're looking at in terms of fire and EMS. How's this gonna work? All right, then number 3 was discussion of wander maps. Wander maps. So Malia Collins had raised that question about being able to talk about it. So I'll just turn this over to Malia.
Hi, you guys are talking about spending money, so I'm just, while we're talking about money, let's keep the discussion alive. So what I have been approached by Jamie Camps, a Wander Maps representative, and I have this proposal for you guys as well as the Bobs, and it's basically I'm going to ask to share the screen because the best way that I've decided to share this is just to give you an immersive experience. And so Wander Maps is essentially a map system that is for tourists, is for businesses to tell people where they can go, what they can do.
I can do that really easily.
How can we share it so we can get it on the big screen?
Yeah, working on it
Right
now.
Okay.
And so it is essentially an app. Oh gosh.
That's good.
Okay, perfect. So it is essentially an app. Durango, Colorado is one of the people that are using it. And it's essentially a map that they can get QR codes that can take people to trailheads, can take people to businesses, and we would be in charge, we as in the account holders. So it could be Town of Bluff, it could be in combination with the Bobs, and we are able to say, this is the trailheads that we want to be on this map. So we can kind of control where people are going. But for the benefit of businesses, people can have the QR code and offer special discounts and refer them to another business and allow people to check in at their location and then post it easily to their social media. So it's a good marketing thing. And also, they on the backside track how often people are coming and how often they're using it so that we can also make sure that it is actually working. And so a quick example, we have Hermosa, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Hermosa. And so there's things to do. You can connect a website. It's a climbing area, most adventurous. And so basically just people have a chance to see Bluff, view the area. It could expand all the way out to Cedar Mesa. It could extend all the way out to different points in the county.
How do they get this?
So they create the map for us, and then we give them our points of interest.
But then how does tourists find that this is available?
So there's a QR code
Where?
that we would post up anywhere we would want. So we could put one at the post office if that would make sense. We could put one at different businesses. So
Or on
We
our
just-
website?
or on our website, yeah. So it could be like in our website to where they can just click on it. And so it could be on our website, it could be on the Bob's website, it could be even on individual businesses' websites if they want, and then at the hotel front desk, so that Jen doesn't waste all of her time. So I'm gonna use you as an example. Jen doesn't have to waste her time when someone's checking in. They're like, hey, what is there to do? You can say, scan this QR code, and this will tell you restaurants, hikes, adventure, river adventures, whatever it is that you want to do, you're gonna be able to find it here because we have curated it and we have determined what exactly, what information we exactly want you to have.
And who maintains it?
So we would pay us a fee to Wander Maps to maintain it.
But
It's
who
an-
tells Wander Maps what to put on it?
Whoever we decide.
I can see that to be, because just keeping it updated and hours and, all of those.
Yeah. And so this is just a proposal. If it's something of interest, I can keep talking about it. If you guys are like, no, if Bob's wants to do it, they can foot the entire bill for it, but
Which is how much?
so if we're 200 points of interest or less, we are looking at, I think it's $6,000 for them to create the map. And then there's a yearly maintenance fee, which is much less. Let me see. So up to 200 POIs, $6,000 per year. Oh, so it is $6,000 per year. The one-time implementation fee is $2,000, which is just that first year. And if we want analytics, it's an additional $2,000 per year. So potentially up to 8. And so if we were to split this in half with the Bobs, it's anywhere from 3 to 5,000 per year.
Okay, I'll go here. I can't speak for all of the Bob members, but since this is very similar to what we're already trying to do with our Business Owners of Bluff website, it's a lot of money for something that we're already doing.
And the rep-
Yeah, we have the RIP map, but above and beyond the RIP map, we already have a QR code linked to our Town of Bluff site that we're trying to build and put in itineraries on for that. So I don't know, to me, it seems a little bit redundant. I also, from what I've heard in past seminars, is you have to be careful about branching too much, because this is probably a great program, but what are the chances? There's a lot of programs out there, and it's not like Google Maps. It's not something that's word of mouth. Everybody just automatically knows and says, "Oh, Wander Maps, I'm going to go here and see where to go." So, is it recognizable, and especially to European type tourists, to know about it in the first place? So, I would like to see their ROIs on things like that before I said no, but it kind of seems like it's a redundant system to what we're already trying to and have in place doing with the Business Owners of Bluff website. And it takes away traffic from that website as well.
But it would be a good one to look at to see what they're doing, for what ideas for what's out there. Because I didn't know about it at all. So yes, that part's good.
So to hook on with Jen, the county does an excellent
Exactly.
job
Yeah.
of doing this already. This afternoon, I went over to Desert Rose because I knew they had a little thing that the county made for Canyon County. And it was basically a tablet. So there's a display that they made. It's a tablet. They can get on that and do this.
Yeah.
Then I talked to a receptionist because the thing that really brings people back is talking to other people. And so like when they go to the lodge, Jim kind of screens them. They want to go on a hike. He can tell them
What's
a
appropriate.
hike that's safe for them. And the personal interaction is what brings people back.
Yeah, the other thing is when Erin and I were first talking about, I think Erin mentioned a good way of using our money is to support the Bob. If Bob needs money to move forward with their plan, they can make a request to us. But for us to spend $6,000 to $8,000 a year really doesn't make any sense to me either. I like the idea of, just continuing to support the local attempt. The other thing is, I don't think we want to get into a position of making a decision what's a good hike. Go here to hike, go to this trailhead, go to that trailhead. I can see this to be a dynamic we don't want to get into, or at least I don't want to get into. Do it next year.
Yeah, I think that clearly, our tax revenue is highly dependent on tourism, if not solely dependent on, we would not be here if not for that. However, I do think that there are entities who are much better suited at this time to do that. And it's just good to know that the resources are out there. So I'm so excited. It's a cool program, but I appreciate you thinking in advance, like, we've got Bob, we've got the county, we've got other folks who can help handle these kind of things. And I'm with Ann. I don't think the town government should right now be determining where folks should or shouldn't go.
The most interesting thing about it would be the data mining, but the county and state stuff are already doing a good job with that, to get those numbers anyways. So.
Well, and Diana Davidson does the most incredible logistics and tracking of data.
And you've got
any
that
person that I know.
easy thing that tracks them.
Yeah.
At the risk of being a little off topic, I just want to say on Google Maps, I've been trying to change Cottonwood Creek to Cottonwood Wash. Finally was semi-successful. And they said that 1,000 people have viewed it since I put it in, which was only a few weeks ago. And so what it means is that people are searching Cottonwood Wash because of the new ownership. And so it's just good to know that that is drawing a lot of interest, there'll be a lot of traffic and so on. So just FYI.
Interesting.
On maps and people looking at the area.
Please let me know how you change your Google Maps stuff, because I've been trying for 10 years. Unsuccessfully.
I've got tips.
They send my guests to Christian Bushnell's house.
I've got tips. I'm CD.
Would you fix where our house is, because we're about 300 yards that it shows up? That's why the Henleys are getting our packages.
That's another issue.
Well, but it isn't. I had the head of Google Maps sitting in my lobby, and I said, "Oh, this is great," except for it doesn't work. It's like, "Oh, we'll fix that," and quit.
You're welcome, happy to do it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Leah. All right, then number 4, discussion of resolutions or policies and procedures for the town manager to sign contracts and the threshold and process for purchasing supplies and materials at town Bluff buildings. I've been meaning to have that first part, the discussion of resolutions, policies, and procedures for the town manager to sign contracts, because some of the contracts we need to sign don't require town council approval. They're routine or whatever, and then we jam up our agenda with my having to put it on to have the council review it, only to kind of throw it back at Erin or throw it now as it's going to be back to Malia on the project. And so I think it would be a good idea if we have a consensus to have other people signing contracts, we reduce it to a resolution so it's clear that they have that authority and exactly what contracts you know, there are always gonna be contracts that the mayor has to sign or the financial officer has to sign. But we're going to be seeing a lot with this project and all the grants that we've been taking in, and it, we shouldn't have to jam up a whole bunch of time with us beating it up and then not even being the ones that have to really approve it. So what do people think about that?
Whatever streamlines things. Go ahead.
The clerk is supposed to also sign every contract. And if you read powers and duties, it hints that there could be a problem at some point if it isn't countersigned.
And I think those are, when I went back and looked at it, they really tend to be the financial ones, you know, the ones that
Yeah.
commit us to something. So some of the contracts that we sign aren't financial, you know, they're other areas or they're routine, we can set limits. But I think there's a way that a resolution can be formatted to have a policy. Which kind of leads into that second part. So the purchasing supplies and materials, we spent 20 minutes talking about garbage cans last week. And we ended up with, what did we end up with? Malia, you made the decision.
We ended up with 3 thermoplastic green trash cans with a bonnet lid.
And while I appreciate that we all are interested in some of these things, I'm wondering if we shouldn't have some kind of policy that says, while the building manager is managing the buildings and the grounds, there's a threshold that she or he or they can just pick up and go with, because again, with the volume of grants we're getting, the amount of work we're going to be doing the next 2 years, it would be nice to have some of these administratively move and not all of us talking about it. You know, and I don't know how we fashion it, but I think there has to be a way to kind of move it. And I'm looking at Erin because I'm guessing Erin and her brain.
I'm sure we can have kind of a resolution. I like the idea of thresholds, or amount thresholds and things like that. But I think in the grand scheme of things, as we continue to build the organization, I would hope that council continues to hire folks who really care about the town, who care about their jobs, and who are smart and very capable people. There. You know, I would hope that you're not appointing someone who has no idea what they're doing. And if that is the case, then of course they'll be trained. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I appreciate your trust and confidence in my ability. I certainly appreciate Malia's intelligence and attention to detail and the job that she does. And, you know, the more that you all can focus on the big things, we can handle the day-to-day stuff.
So like those trash cans, you know, they ended up 15 or 1600 probably.
2,000 because of shipping, and they'll be here Monday, so it's already done.
Yeah, but so that was kind of a lot,
It's kind of a lot.
kind of a big expenditure. If you can keep doing that day after day, there could be, you know, quite a bit of expense.
Make sure you don't turn and talk that way because the recorder's not going to pick you up.
We need our audience.
I think so as we continue again to build out the organization, we're going to have routine staff meetings in which we're talking about everyone's budgets. So facilities are going to know, like, this is where I'm at for the year. These are the other big expenditures that I'm going to have. I know these are coming up. And then it's kind of a check and balance as to like, hey, this is the overall budget that was already approved. Not to say that, you know, we can't do an amendment or anything, but, you know, there are day-to-day expenses that just, we know that they're going to go through. And then, you know, as we're talking capital projects annually, more than annually, or strategic plan, you know, we can check off some of those big ones. So we know kind of how things are going to fall in the year.
I like the idea of rolling it over. If they don't need something, then it goes to the next year, and if something comes up, they've got some money there to
Yeah,
do what they need.
I've never been a believer in like, oh, we've got a budget, we got to use it all. It's, no, we have some money and this is how we optimize
This
it.
is what we need, and this is what we might need next year.
And the council has been very thoughtful about their budgeting, you know, for the last 6 years. They ran with a very nice, amount that we have available in capital projects for all of these big projects that are coming up. So that's great. I would say, as I look at the expenses that we've had recently, it is indicative of an organization that's growing, that has staff members who have needs. We have parks and facilities that need, attention, and then, we'll continue to have that. But yeah, the more people you have in office and have, available, I do see expenses going up. But hopefully there's a good return on investment, like those people getting awesome grants for the town and things like that. So I think it is, it's a check and balance, but I think in addition to the monthly reporting that I will be doing for you all from a financial aspect, the staff meetings are going to be good too, to just say, hey, like this is where we've got in each category.
So maybe a resolution would be something that they approve it through the town manager, and then if you don't agree, then it's brought to council or something for approval. But if you agree with somebody that's spending something, it seems like
So
that
that,
would be.
I think what, at least from my way of thinking, what I'm trying to do is cut down the levels, the number of levels this has to go through when we're talking something that should be within a job description that someone has to do. It's like I can use myself as an example. In the rare times that I order office supplies, I don't come here and ask to be able to do it. Like most of the time I just pay for it myself. But on the few times that I have used the credit card to buy something that I was out and I needed, I don't come here. So I think there's a way we can kind of fashion it like we do with roads, where Michael Havocan gives us a proposed budget for the year, and that's kind of the framework we work within.
And that threshold,
Yeah.
the threshold,
The
like
threshold's important because,
if you're going over 500 or something.
well, and I think maybe Erin and I can work on it and come up with something to bring back, because we can't approve something we don't have anyway, but.
I think there's going to be like a point too of like, there are regular spend items that just like go about running a town. And then there are like the kind of one-offs of like, I'm working on this project and I would like to do X, Y, and Z. And so that might require some additional conversation. But I like the thresholds. I like the idea of like, these are routine expenses versus not. And then, I trust you all to hire capable, intelligent humans who are not squandering funds. Clearly, we have checks and balances in place to ensure that our procurement our procurement policy will not go away. Who's authorized to make procurement at certain levels might change. So I think we just, can look at that framework and build out who is eligible in what regard. So, and then checkups, and if we need to make adjustments, we always can.
I think the other piece is looking at the aggregate amount, like 3 trash cans cost X. But when one gets stolen and we replace one, then we really want to go through this again. So it's the aggregate versus the individual purchase. And, let's try to work on it and be creative so that we can. I like the idea the colors came up and whether we had lids in mind and all of that. But when I thought about it, it's like, oh, I could have gone home 20 minutes earlier.
Well, could we not also just shorten that up by saying, hey, I would like to purchase trash cans for West Park. Are you guys in favor of that? Yes, no. And then it's up to Malia to pick the trash can if she thinks it's appropriate.
We just all have to agree to say yes or no, and that's it.
Right. And not care about the color or the material.
I kind of did that with Erin this afternoon, because we need a new computer for the room 2, and I asked, have you picked it out? So instead of, even though it's going to say discussion, have you picked it out so that you could just say, this is what we want, yes or no? Just another way to shorten the process.
Anything more on that? All right, then the last one is number 5, discussion of revisions to code of conduct and planning and zoning bylaws. So it's been 4 or 5 years since we've looked at either of these, well, at least 5 years for the code of conduct, and then planning and zoning bylaws. Sticking with the code of conduct, I've been thinking about it for a while because we haven't gone back, and I doubt that any of us have looked at it. I don't know. The newer council members have spent any energy looking at it. And so I thought it would be a good idea to put it on a work session, just to talk about, not tonight, but in the future, give everybody a heads up. And then it was really, it really became more important to me after last Thursday's San Juan County Planning and Zoning meeting. We do a really, I think, a very good job of being respectful and listening to each other. And even when there are disagreements, for the most part, I think we do a really good job. But I'd like to go back and look at it because I was pretty appalled by the behavior of the people in that public hearing, and I was equally as appalled by a couple of incidents where I think administration or law enforcement should have stepped in, and it didn't happen. And I would just like us to look at what do we do when we have a big event, like a public hearing, where we know tempers are going to be on the higher end, or disagreements are going to be more heated. And how do we handle it, and does our code of conduct really cover it? We don't have law enforcement, but law enforcement should have been instructed or on their own stepped in based on one, if not 2 or more occasions Thursday. And I don't want to be in that situation where we're sitting here going, shh, what do we do? How do we do it? We need to have something in writing that says this is the policy that we've got and we're going to follow it. And what exactly. And so I haven't gone back and looked at what our code of conduct does, but I would like to do that when we get through a few of the important things in the next month or 2, and then bring that back and have a work session on it.
I've always been very impressed with how you handle things. We have the 3-minute time. We really try to stick to that 3-minute time. Don't let people over talk it. And I've always been very impressed, Ann, that you say that's, not appropriate behavior and we're not going to conduct a meeting like that. So you really put a stop to it. I think that's really nice, and I would like to see that go forward in the future. I know that often that's a hard role to play because, you don't want to upset people or whatever, but to be fair and equal with everyone, that's really important, I think.
Thanks. It also made me really kind of reflect back on, we all have a tone and we all get annoyed and, and we all do it differently, but it was brutal for some of the comments that were made and really inappropriate and
Totally.
Yeah. It's even worse that I got stuck there till 12:03 and somebody didn't offer me a ride home.
I'm sorry.
But so I'll just look at a work session where we're kind of light on things and bring it in and have us do it. Because I do think it's important because it makes us think about it and it makes it visible to all of us.
I feel like the planning and zoning bylaws have been shared out. I feel like I've read those. Has the code of conduct?
I don't know if I attached that one. It should be on our website.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's also supposed to be, now that we're in person, I supposed to have the code of conduct here on the table, and that fell off with COVID. So I think it's a good time to bring that back.
It's the code of conduct and the rules and procedures you're supposed to bring in. So if you have any question, I guess. I remember we did for a long time till COVID.
Yeah, we did until we started doing virtual, and then we came back and didn't do it.
So they are on our homepage, right under our town council meetings here.
I see.
And so, yeah, we've got some rules and order of procedure. And, it's the same document uploaded twice.
You did the rules and procedures twice.
No, conduct. General rule of conduct, yeah, I think it's just combined into the same document on this one. So yeah, go check those out there. And, so it looks like the code of conduct one, the link to code of conduct goes to both. and the code of conduct's just at the bottom, whereas the rules and procedures are in their own document.
And then on the planning and zoning bylaws, it seems to me after I thought about putting it on there, and talking with Erin a little bit about it, it seems like that should fall back on planning and zoning to take a look at their own, and we probably don't need to do anything with it until they've gone through it and looked at what they might want to change. So, unless somebody feels a burning need for us to look at it first, I recommend that we just ask planning and zoning that they have that spare meeting they're not doing anything with, that they go ahead and do that. Start with that.
And I had sent over just like a couple bullet points of like things that have come up over the last couple of years that seem like they're maybe missing from there. So I've got at least like a little bit of a head start on them of like, hey, these are the things that we have identified in the past. But I think it is good with 6 years of experience now that they can say, this is what isn't happening and how we can make sure it's written and documented.
What were we just reviewing it for? Was it, when did this come up recently? Was it that vacancy?
Yeah, it was a vacancy, and also the terms, they expire in November
That's right.
30th and not
Yeah, there we go.
December 31st or a logical point in time. And then Erin found a couple other holes, and
That's right, okay.
yeah, so we were thinking, it's a good time to do it in terms of looking at those different documents and updating, but catching the holes now that we know they're there.
And Erin, you're not sharing the screen.
Yes, yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, you were clear enough to reference what you were showing. I just
Sure.
wanted to make sure you.
Yeah, when we go, if we're sharing stuff during that, actually, I don't think we'll have to because it's just a discussion with Chris. So, but yes, thank you. Thank you.
So if there's nothing else on 5, the number 6 is other. Anybody have an other that they want to throw out that I'll tell you we can't talk about because it's not on the agenda, and I'll put it on the next one. Just a reminder, when I send out the draft agendas, for some reason the last year, I keep forgetting to put vote. And so if people would just, pay attention, like if it's something we need to be voting on, can you try to back me on that? Because it's good that Michael and Brad Bunker didn't have anything for us to vote on because I didn't move it over into the meeting agenda. So.
The other thing is, all of the agenda items are in capitals. So I have to at times fix. If it's something's not in capital, I just fix it. It's no big deal, but just FYI.
I know we have like a marathon of meetings, but as a friendly reminder, especially since it's the beginning of the year, maybe you're working on your own New Year's resolutions, please make sure that you're looking at your strategic planning initiatives, and probably it is a marathon of meetings today, so I'm glad that one is not on, and probably intentionally so. But just a reminder, I think that would be a great February item for us all to talk about. And yeah, if you need any help with yours, if you have questions, if you are like me and need a refresher on what you're assigned, just let me know and I can help.
And since we had agreed to have that on every work session,
Yeah,
I had it on my list and it didn't make it off my list onto my computer. So
that's okay, because we did not have time today. So.
Do we have another meeting set up with Julie and Judith that all to?
No, but that was
Track where
supposed to
we're
be, that was a part of what I was supposed to put on the agenda was they do succession planning and those were the 2 pieces I was going to have everybody report on and then see if we wanted to go back to Pathways to do succession planning for a session. And of course, like I said, it fell off my radar, so I will try. I just wrote it down on my card here to put it on next month's work session. Okay, it is 4:53. Is there anything or should we take a break?
You can adjourn this one.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. 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 Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. I'm turning off the recorder.
All right, for those of you online, we're just going to take a short break. I'm going to mute the microphone and we will reopen with the joint work session at 5 o'clock.